Hey, Refael, how are you?
Hey, Ethan, I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you today?
Doing well. Thank you for your time. Good to have you here. We have exciting topics to discuss today. All things shipping, inventory, supply chain,
Fun
international
stuff. Yeah.
expansion, all the fun stuff, right?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, great, great. So you are the founder, president of Unicargo, and I saw something really interesting on your LinkedIn profile that you've added that you are always hiring, right?
Always.
Always hiring. So this is great to hear. Tell us a little bit about Unicargo and why you are always hiring.
All right. That's a good point. So my name is Rafael, as you mentioned. Unicargo is a company I founded back in 2015, almost 10 years ago. After many years in the freight forwarding and in the logistics world, I started this company basically to focus on e-commerce businesses. I've learned through the years that e-commerce businesses, e-commerce entrepreneurs, people who sell on marketplaces, their own independent shops, they have logistics needs just as regular businesses, but they were, we can call it, not seen, or they were very transparent to traditional freight forwarding companies because they were always after the bigger accounts, the brick and mortars, the corporates. And as a person working and managing freight forwarding companies as an employee, I started receiving these inquiries from people online, from people that have online businesses, and these requests were very random, I might say. They had, it was very clear that the people requesting the RFQ or the quote, or the people that had the need, they were unexperienced, they had no logistics experience, they had complexity, regulation complexities, IOR, import of record, complexities. They basically was trying to test new markets or trying to open up new markets without legal entities. So there was very, again, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
it's easier, but 10 years ago these were very, very complex requests from very, very small individual or companies. And I was very intrigued by that, and the more I studied it, I started to I got exposed into a huge world of people running businesses online and with really big logistics needs, or expertise in logistics that they themselves didn't have. Like, if you think about it, the regular corporates or the big importers, they have supply chain managers, they have a complete logistics department in-house with very experienced people. And these e-commerce businesses, they, it was mostly one man show, or a very, very small company um with no specific role that handles logistics, and they were 100% relying on logistics company to consult them, to guide them, to take them hand in hand, to answer all these questions. And I decided back then that I should start a company that focused just on this audience and provide them freight forwarding services, logistics services. And it was a very good bet. Again, 10 years ago, the e-commerce boom has just started, and we kind of ride that wave of success of this whole industry, and we grew very fast with the industry, actually. So we started doing shipping, A to Z, from point A to point B between countries, mainly from Southeast Asia, like China and India, Vietnam, Nepal, Cambodia, to the Western world, like US, Europe, Canada, Australia, and all of that. And very fast we learned that these e-commerce businesses, that client, these audience, they needed much more than just shipping their product. They needed warehousing, they needed last mile distribution, they needed reverse logistics, they needed vendors to handle their returns, um, they needed finance, they needed a lot of things that we started doing basically with time. And the more we learned about that audience, the more we grew as a company.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell.
So, so yeah. So what I hear you saying is that the big freight forwarding company, they lack the focus on that specific sector of e-commerce from various angles. One, it's a smaller company. maybe less volumes, more specialized and customized type of engagement. With the
Hmm.
big companies, it takes time to open an account, to validate you as a customer. There are a lot of
Exactly.
so this is like you saw a gap that be more specific and customize and tailor maybe a solution for these e-commerce companies that started to emerge, right, 10 years ago. And the main area of the solution and the, let's say, the special services that you provide are around probably special quantities, like lower quantities, international specification, returns, and you say also you're providing also finance and some other support activities. So let's try to explore further what are the additional services beyond traditional shipping, maybe that
Hmm.
is common and basic that you are providing today.
So, um, the one of the most common requests from these online businesses, they again, remember, they came from all over the place, right? We are a global company. We have clients from all over the world, and one of the main things that we've noticed that is that a lot of them didn't have legal entities in the marketplaces they operate in. So, for
Hmm.
example, you have a great online business in the US, and now you want to open up Canada. So now you need to start moving cargo from the US to Canada commercially, like moving pallets, big shipments,
Yeah.
store them in Canada, and then fulfill them from there to the domestic market. And not Canada is the simple example. Let's talk about Japan. You want to open up your Japanese marketplace. So now you have to import product into Japan. Now, none of them wanted to start a Japanese company and have a Japanese CPA because that's a big investment for a smaller business, right? So a lot of them came with a request of, hey, you know what? I'm doing well in the US, or I'm doing well in Europe or whatever. And now I want to expand my business into Japan or into the US or into Germany, into the UK. Here is the shipment that we have. All right, these are, I don't know, 50 boxes, 100 boxes. These are their sizes. That's the weight. That's their commodity, and we need you to do everything else. So now you had to provide import. It's, we call it IOR, import of record services. Right, you cannot import into a domestic market commercial goods, like big quantity of goods, without having a legal presence, a company, a limited liability company. You have to pay your duties, you have to pay your VAT, you need to understand customs regulation laws. What kind of products are you allowed to import? What kind of products needed special certification? Not only that, it's the fact that these companies are non-experienced shippers. They don't really have huge background in international shipping and logistics. They didn't know their regulation. Now, in the regular business world, the traditional business world, and the way things are going is, you, as an importer of record, you as the owner of the commodity, you are liable to the regulation, right? You need to know exactly what labels you need to put on your box. You need to know what certificates you need to issue, or what test reports you need to do to your product in order to import it into a specific country. Now, imagine that they didn't know it.
Yeah.
They were liable to do it. They were the responsibility is theirs, but they didn't know it, and we learned it very fast, right? One shipment got stuck, and we came back to
Mhm.
our client and say, hey, didn't you do this and that? Didn't you have the test report? And we very fast find out that he didn't even know what we are
It is
talking about.
required. Yeah.
For him it was Chinese. And then we learned that we need to be a compliance experts for our clients, because they won't do it. And that's a specialty you start to learn, and then you start to teach it to your team, to your sales team, to your customer service team. And it's very uncommon in the international shipping world that you have to do the regulation for your client. It's vice versa. Imagine a client moves a product for years and years and years. He knows exactly what he needs. He knows exactly how it's been done, because again, he's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And this type of client, it was their first time. They had no clue. They had no professional people in their company to do it. So you had to do their regulation. You had to do their compliance, import compliance, basically provide them with the entity at the destination market. to be able to import the product. Now you need to provide them a warehouse as well, right? You are the logistics vendor, so they will come to you with a request for warehousing, a request for fulfillment, a request for distribution, request for reverse logistics to handle the returns. So basically, we started building the, well, let's call it products, the company products, based on our clients' demands or requests.
Amazing. So this is a kind of an evolution that you learned from experience of actually moving stuff from
Yeah.
different countries and find what's wrong, what's missing, and get back. And also learn from customers what's required and offer this as a service as part of the product, as you say, that are
Yeah.
provided by Unicargo to the customers.
90% of what we learned, 90% of the things we learned it from the customers. So 90% of the products we've developed here as a shipping product, or as a logistics product,
Yeah.
came from the field. It came from the actual customers.
And obviously, this is an ongoing progress, evolving progress, right? Every time you learn new things, and
Exactly.
time is passing by, and there are new rules, probably new way of doing things, maybe end shoppers, customer expectations of timing and turnarounds that are still evolving. What are some of the latest trends that you see in this sector?
Well, we see a lot of marketplace involvement into Walmart, into Target. We see a lot of people expanding into Asia. Japan is a very interesting market that people are looking after. Australia is a very interesting market that
Hmm.
people are looking after. A lot of tech has come into play, integration. So you have, as a company, as a logistics provider, you have to keep up with technology. You have to staff, a CTO and integration people,
Hmm.
because again, nobody really wants to work manually, and it's a very big change from what we've seen 10 years ago. Automation has come into place a lot. People are looking more and more into digital tools, digital solutions. They want everything, visibility, transparency. These are the latest trends in the logistics world, both for e-commerce and non-e-commerce. By the way, it's the same.
Yes, and I also understand that you are able to provide also inventory, right? Locations and last mile shipping, and so let's zoom in a little bit about these aspects. How do you see inventory, and how is it usually being managed in terms of? And I'm sure it depends on the product itself, right? In terms of cycles within the year, and the length of a product, and it can be on the shelf there.
Mhm.
So what other solutions that you provide in terms of inventory, and maybe give some feedback for e-commerce owners? What are the things that they need to, if they need to develop an RFP today, right? For that aspect, what are the important things for them to take into consideration?
So these are very important two topics, but two separate topics. Let's start with the first one.
Sure.
So for inventory, we started managing warehouses. We started building warehouses. Sometimes we lease our own warehouse. Sometimes we sublease from a very big warehouse. And we found out that we started having warehouses in different countries in the world. We have 10 locations in the US. We have a warehouse in Japan. We have 2 in India. We have 3 in China. We have in Germany. We have in the UK. And we started to see that global clients, or more mature businesses, they are holding stock, or they are keeping stock in more than one location. So we had to develop what we call an IMS, inventory management system, where we connect into different warehousing system internally on the back office, but we present it to our customers as a one dashboard. So basically,
Hmm.
our technology is able to connect to different WMSs, warehouse management systems, different vendors, different providers, and translate it all into one simplified language where SKU on a SKU level, or on a box level, on a pallet level, with one unified dashboard and one unified data set. So basically, we are able to provide you a warehousing solution, including an IMS program, which is basically giving you the transparency of your stock levels, all of your history about on the inbounds, everything you have sent into the warehouse, everything you have sent out of the warehouse, the outbounds. And it's a one unified data set. It's a one unified database, basically. So you don't have to deal with different warehousing systems. Imagine that most the way it works today, that let's say you are selling in the US marketplace, you'll connect with one vendor, you'll talk to a warehouse, he'll provide you with the credentials to his system, and the next day, I don't know, a year later, you expand into the UK and you connect with a different vendor, a UK vendor, and then he gives you a credential to his
Mhm.
system, which is completely different. Now you have to manage two different systems, two different databases. The Excel files or the outputs of the data will look differently. And basically, that's what we built on the inventory side. So basically, we provide a unified system, no matter where in the world, to all of our clients. Complete transparency. Everything is visible. Everything you've sent in, everything you've sent out, all of your stock levels. It's pretty cool. So that's on the first side. On the second side of, you now want to see an RFP of a warehousing, or you want to start using a new provider. Warehousing business is tricky as hell. Tricky as hell for the customers,
Yeah.
because if you ever spoke to to a warehousing vendor, you can get one price list from one vendor and another price list from a second vendor for the same service,
Yeah.
but the price list would look completely different. Some of the warehouses will charge you storage per pallet. Some of the warehouses will charge you storage per box. Some of the warehouses will charge you storage per square feet or square meter. Some of them will have free inbound, but the outbound would be very, very expensive. Some of them would not charge you on the outbound, but the inbound will be very, very expensive. So it's a very, very tricky world. What I would recommend is asking them to provide you with a scenario. What do I mean? That you get a price list, all good and nice. That's nice. Now you want to see a scenario, all right? So you go to the vendor and say, hey, you know what? My typical shipment is 5 pallets. These are the sizes of the pallets. I have 50 boxes on each pallet. That's the size and weight of the boxes. I usually bring, again, 5 pallets on an LTL, on a partial truck, and I usually have 100 pallets in storage every single time. I have 5 outbound orders on average per month on pallets, B2B orders, and I have 500 D2C orders. Here are the sizes, and let them provide you a scenario of how is the invoice going to look, and you'll see that you'll find out that what you thought based on the price list is completely different
Nice.
from the actual.
Yeah.
This is something you must do with every provider that you check, or you're thinking of going into business with, or partnering with. You gotta start running scenarios, real life scenarios, right? So take your average size of shipments, your average inbounds, how many inbounds you average a month or a year, how many outbounds you average a month or a year, and start building scenarios based on that, and have them price it as it is from their prices. And this way you learn how to read that price list and what is going to be your cost.
Yes, because once you engage with them, it's you'll be surprised, and it's very difficult to
You'll be
switch, right? So,
surprised. It's very
yeah,
hard to leave. You started
very hard.
integrating, you started moving products, and I see it all the time. It
Yes.
happens all the time.
So you mentioned the IMS for the inventory management, and I know you're using a technology to first to understand what's happening, aggregating all these data points. What else do you do on the tech side and analytics side to make a smarter decision and provide better service to e-commerce brand?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So remember that for international shipping, for an international shipment, for a single international shipment, that there would be between 30 to 50 data points, meaning statuses in our system, data sets that we record, like cargo ready date, when is the cargo ready, and what is the scheduled pickup date, when are we due to pick up, what is the actual pickup date, what is the estimated arrival date to port, what is the actual arrival date to port. So on every data point there would be estimated and actual. It will double. And then you have all the stations on the way, right? Ports, warehouses, vessels or airlines on the origin side, and then on the destination side, on the
Hmm.
arrival, and then you have your customs, and then you have to pick it up, then you have to distribute it. But there's a lot of data. What we usually do is we aggregate that on a BI platforms. We have a team of BI developers, data analysts, basically. Um, and basically what we usually do is, and it's very different from customer to customer, because some of the customers would want to see how are they performing on their transit time, what are the average from cargo ready date, or even before cargo, from PO placement, from the day they put the PO with the supplier until it finally arrived to the warehouse. So if that's your concern, your transit time, or how to reduce your transit time, we would build a data set around that, and we would build KPIs around that,
Hmm.
and we would show you, all right, so here are the everything you've placed, every orders you place. That's what we call PO management. When we go into play even before the cargo is actually ready, once you put the PO with your supplier. So if you are interested in your lead times or reducing your lead time, we would build KPIs around that, right? We would estimate and we would measure the actuals. And once you run with it, you start to build data a month, 2 month, 3 month based, and it really depends on how frequently you ship, right? How many volumes you move. But usually it takes 3 to 4 months to build that data. And once we have that data, we can start putting very, very accurate projections from the day you place your order until it actually arrives on your shelves. And this helps greatly.
Yeah.
If you're interested in reducing your costs, there would be different measures that we will look into, like consolidating your shipments, right? Where are your suppliers located? Are we able to consolidate your orders into a big shipment and then move it all at once to save money? So every business, that's something that we've learned in the past couple of years. Every business would have completely different requirements, or things that they want to measure, or things that they want to improve on. And based on that, you would start building the KPI, start building the data, and then you can start giving them the projections or some estimates around.
So, Rafael, I mean, many of the companies these days are focused on profitability. Okay, what are some of the, based on the data that you've aggregated and the knowledge that you have in the industry, what are some of the probably the issues or the areas where you feel that this area of shipping, inventory, warehousing, last mile, all the logistics aspect of things, where do you see the major areas for improvement, again, from profitability standpoint? And what are some of the tips that you can provide around this area and helping e-commerce brands improve profitability?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, again, there is no one size fits all in this scenario, but let's take, for example, if you do cross-border D2C, right? You fulfill from China or from India directly to the end consumers. So there, what I would want to measure is your volume versus actuals. How volumetric is your packaging?
Hmm.
Am I able to reduce your packaging size or weight by doing some small changes? That sometimes we found that it can cost you, it can cut you 15, 20, even 30%,
Wow.
right? That's on cross-border D2C.
Yeah.
Having a industrial designer, involving an industrial designer to look at your product, look at your packaging, and try to see if you can cut, if your product is volumetric, is big, try to see if you can cut 2 centimeters from each
Hmm.
side. Try to see if you can cut it by height. Just the packaging. Some of the businesses that we've worked with, they had the belief of very big nice packaging and the whole unboxing experience, but you work with that in mind, you build big boxes, you build bulky boxes, bulky packaging, and that costs you a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you're able to reduce these by 10%, 15%, your impact on the logistics cost would be crazy.
Amazing.
And we've actually got industrial designers connected with our customers, and they were working on their product and doing improvement just on packaging side, and that would drive costs dramatically. if you ship B2B, right, if you ship boxes across the ocean, right, in containers, so you wanna, that's also applicable because even if you cut 1 centimeter from every packaging from your package box, then you are able to fit maybe not 40 into a master carton, but you're now able to fit 50 in a master carton, and the
Yeah.
master carton is the same size, so you are able to put 10-20% more in a shipping container, and that's again immediate saving. So I would look at volume, I would look at size of packaging, and that's again from our experience in the e-commerce world, a lot of businesses fall there. They have a lot of room for improvement there. That's immediate saving. Um, Again, if you move B2B, if you move a lot of shipments and you fulfill domestically, looking into consolidating shipments, not sending smaller shipments, going to an effective supply chain, meaning you're not you don't have urgent orders that you need to ship by air. You plan them, you plan your logistic, your supply chain ahead, then you are able to move 90% ocean or 95% ocean. That would be a major saving. And from my experience, it takes time for a company to be mature in that realm to move only on ocean rather than air.
Hmm.
Now, and again, it really depends on the product. So, for example, cosmetics or fast fashion, they would have crazy multipliers. They would have crazy margins, so they're
Yeah.
okay moving them by air. Whereas some other product like cheap products from I don't know China, like phone covers and all of that, they would have very slim margins, so you can't really ship them by air. So it really depends.
It seems to me that you are like trusted advisor for your customers, kind of a even consultant, and brainstorming on various improvements and services that you can provide. How a typical engagement looks like? I mean, for you guys, I mean, how customers usually start, and how they are exposed to all those additional capabilities and services that you are providing.
So that's a beautiful point. That's exactly what we are trying to deliver, the value, the added value, right? So a lot of businesses, when they would start, they would only look at the price. They would go on a transactional relationship, is
Hmm.
what we call it. So they would go to 5 different freight forwarders, they would send their RFQ, and they would go for the cheapest one. And they would get screwed one way or another because, again, going for the cheapest possible option is not a good strategy. But it's a strategy that almost every e-commerce business that I've seen that is just starting out, that's the strategy he's taking.
Yeah.
Later down the line, when the business gets mature, gets bigger, now he's much more dependent on his supply chain. And now every delay, every fuck up, every problem that your supply chain causes you, it becomes to be, it's a major pain. And then we see them coming back to us and really appreciating the added value, the planning, the discussions, the Zoom calls. So I would say we, the customer appreciate the value once they become a bit mature, right? They are not just starting out. And then the relationship would be, we would go on a call, we would ask a lot of questions, we would try to understand what is important for the customer, what it's his major pain points, and then we would build a strategy around that. We would connect him with his account manager. We would put KPIs in place, and we would build a relationship, not a transactional relationship, but
Yeah.
a partnership relationship. It's like you go to court of law, right? You get a lawsuit, you take a lawyer, he's now your partner, he
Sure.
represents you. You won't go to court without a lawyer.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You can't handle a big and successful e-commerce business that heavily rely on logistics, and every e-commerce business, 50% of your business is logistics. You can't run to long distances. You can't build sustainable big businesses without a strong logistics partner, without a partner that would provide value and insights from his experience and tips, and would be your partner. That's what we call it, a logistics partner.
Yes.
So as a business owner, you want to get away from transactional relationships where you just send RFQs and go for the cheapest one, and every shipment you change your vendor, change your logistic provider, because that's you won't be able to build a relationship based on that.
Yes, and I mean this is anyhow they do that on the marketing side, right? If they want to start, paid media and advertising on Facebook or Instagram, they take an agency, right? If they want to launch on Amazon,
Yeah,
they take an Amazon agency. So might as well they do that also on the backend side with all these because every efficiency, any improvement has a direct impact on bottom line, right? Which is like
exactly.
and not just cash flow, but also that free cash flow that you're actually making money of, not that cash flow that you again need to allocate for buying
Yeah.
additional inventory or shipping somewhere else. So if we take, for example, the scenario of cross-border or international expansion, okay, let's take this as a scenario. What are some of the tips or processes or the right way to go, right, when you want to penetrate a new market as an e-commerce uh,
hmm So
brand?
the first most important thing is compliance. Before you even think of putting a cent on a specific product, before you put your PO, before you do anything, you want to start thinking. And again, here comes into play your logistics partner. You
Yeah.
want to talk to your logistics partner, say, hey, here is my product. I want to go into Japan marketplace. I want to go into Germany. I want to go into the UK. And first of all, you would start discussing about the requirements. What is needed in order to import X product into a specific country? Do you need special certification? Do you need special permits? Do you need special test reports? Do
Hmm.
you need this, or that? And you'll be surprised that 60-70% of business owners, e-commerce business owners, would fall there. They would go, they would place their PO, they would pay the supplier, they would produce the product, and only then they would remember to. And you know what? Sometimes they won't even require. They'll ask you to send it. Hey, here's my product. Here's my RFQ. I need to ship 100 boxes. Here's the pickup address. Here is the delivery address. And then we would start asking them question. Hey, do you have this, and that? Do you have
Yeah.
this specific labeling? Did you follow that and that regulation? And they would
Regulation.
go
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I didn't know. What do we do now? So first of all, before you do anything, you want to discuss it with your logistics provider. Start tackling compliance. And if you sell on a marketplace like Amazon, Walmart, and Target, you got to remember marketplace compliance is very different than import compliance. Sometimes you would need X, Y, Z to sell on Amazon, but customs would need different things, right? Amazon cares about their their to cover their assets, the different UL standards and this and that, and customs would look at different things. So
Yeah.
even if you got approved to sell a product on Amazon or on Walmart, doesn't mean that you can actually bring it in now, right? So that's very important. So that would be the first part. Second part is have first of all, and I hope that people would know what are their costs. What are your landed costs, right? So you're gonna store it in a warehouse. You're gonna house it in a warehouse. All right. So how much is it gonna cost you? How many products are you estimated to move? You gotta build. You gotta build a business plan.
Yes.
How many
Forecast.
products
Yeah.
am I expected to move in the first month,
Hmm.
second month, third month, the first year, right? All right. So I'm expected to move, I don't know, 5,000 products in the first year. All right. How many products do I need to put as an inventory in my warehouse? How much is it going to cost? And then I'm going back to the first tip that we discussed. Run scenarios. Understand. You got to make sure you understand your logistics costs. And these are tricky, right? There are import duties. Sometimes you have VAT. If you import into Canada, Japan, or Europe, you'll have VAT. Are you going to claim it back? Do you have a company? Do you have an entity? So I would start focusing on the regulation side, the logistics planning, and let's call it the accounting side of the business before doing anything. That would be the first three pillars I would look into before I would start an expansion.
Yes. And as I understand, all these pillars are again they can work with Unicargo to get
Yeah, except
clarity.
from the financial side, on the CPA level, VAT, claiming it back, having
Sure.
a company reporting to tax authorities. Except that, everything, yeah,
Yeah, but in terms of local entity, the legal stuff, the
yeah,
regulation, the
yeah,
test
yeah, yeah, yeah.
reports, all that can
That's
be
exactly
provided.
what we do.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Great, Rafael. What are some of the things that you learned from your career, in logistics and your activities with e-commerce? What are some of the probably lessons you learn and some of the tips that you can provide from your experience?
Well, you asked me about my LinkedIn slogan that we are
Yeah,
always hiring.
that's a good
I'll
time to
yeah, I'll
talk
address
about.
that. So it might sound like a cliche. It might sound very obvious, but I don't know exactly how to explain it. You gotta go through something. You gotta go through a certain path in order to really observe the fact that people make businesses. If you want to scale business, if you want to grow businesses, you gotta have the right people in your team. You gotta have the right team, and you can't grow without people. You can't grow without the right people, sir. You can bring people, but if that's not the right people, the right team, you won't be able to grow, or it'll be very, very painful to
Hmm.
grow, and you'll want to die in the on the way. So that's why I have the. We are always hiring. We are always on the lookout for that people that would allow us to scale or to scale with them, management and strong people and sharp people. So that's why I would never reject a job interview. And that's why I always, my HR manager, there are positions, certain positions are always open.
Hmm.
For that specific position, I say, you know what, never close this. I want you to put 50 CVs on my desk every
Wow.
day. I'll love that, right?
Yeah.
So because that's the way you grow a business, and it might look as an investment. A lot of people in their in when they start their business journey will look at it as an expense. They would look at it as if I don't need it, I won't recruit it because it's an expense. You gotta pay it. But at the end of the day, if you have the right plan, if you have the right strategy, and if you understand how to bring the right people, that expense become a huge investment. And I can't even tell you the ROI on bringing the right people.
Hmm.
It's insane.
Nice.
It's insane. It's in the millions. It's insane. That's one of the lessons I've learned in the past years. Um, that's one. Secondly, um, know your limits. Like know what you're good at and what you're not good at. I'm not the CEO of my company anymore. I brought a CEO because I thought I could find a better manager than myself. And the day I found the right manager, the company took off.
Hmm.
And I'm happy and everybody's happy. My wife and kids are happy and I do what I love, and which is building businesses and growing and visioning and strategizing. And I brought somebody who can manage the company, that big ass company that we built, better than me. So know your limits, know what you're good at, and leave the ego aside, and try to find better people than yourself, or at
Yes.
least people that you look at and you think, hey, he's better than me, and that's somebody you want on your team.
Yeah. I mean, knowing that you reach your limits is an egoless effort, right? I mean, how
Yeah,
do you know that you reach your limits? This is something you feel inside, you
yeah.
get
You
some
start,
feedback.
you start to suffer.
Okay, something you
No,
feel
you
inside,
feel it.
right?
You feel it. You feel it.
Yeah.
You're not happy anymore.
Yeah.
You've built something, now it's growing and growing and growing, and all of a sudden you are sleepless, you have no energy, it's too much, it feels like a burden.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're not doing the right thing, you're not in the right position. And it's like an internal compass that you have to be very careful and listen to, and act upon it once you feel it.
Interesting. And for you, what's more important, like reach this end goal or just enjoy the process, enjoy the road together with people and evolve, with,
Well,
what's out there?
you know I had, when I started out, I don't know, until 2 or 3 years ago, I had this romantic dream of reaching 40 and selling everything I have and just doing nothing, enjoying the success and the fact that I don't need to work anymore and my kids don't need to work. And that wasn't a romantic dream I had until a couple of years that I realized that, you know what, when I think about it, if I'll sit at home, my friends are working, my family, everybody's working around me. So yeah, you'll enjoy the beach, what, for a month, 2 months, you'll
Yeah,
travel for. But at the end of the day, I found that what drives me and what motivates me and what makes me happy is the doing, building things, doing things. So to answer your question, I think the the end goal here, for me at least, is to keep on doing big things while I'm at ease, while I enjoy it. And going back again to that internal compass, that you gotta be very honest with yourself and understand and know if you're really happy with what you're doing, if you're jumping out of bed in the morning full of energy, and that would say the compass is leaning in the right direction. And that's a secret for me.
nice. It's great to hear, really, Rafael. Very nice, very nice. So I guess that if you're enjoying yourself in work and you're passionate about what you do, there's also some other things that you do outside of work. So maybe this is a good time to share a fun fact about you.
Well, fun fact, let's see, I don't know how fun it is. I have four little boys.
Okay.
I have four little boys. Listen to that. The oldest one is 7. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's four boys in 7 years. I
Wow.
enjoy surfing, wave surfing, motocross, dirt biking. I got my kids into it, and again, they are very very little. So people look at me sometimes and think I'm crazy. I have a 5-year-old who does dirt bikes with me, and I bought him a motorcycle, and my 7-year-old is surfing with me. So
Wow.
it's fun, but it's also hard work. But
Yes.
again, if you're happy with what you did as your day job, gives you enough time with your family, that's for me the secret ingredient to a happy life. Enjoying what you do in your professional life, enjoying your time with your family, doing things that you love with your family and kids. For me, that's the secret sauce.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, Rafael, anything else you want to add?
uh I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think we
You're good.
pretty much covered it all.
Amazing. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ethan.
It was really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.